morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Inns, and I'm a new member on the St. Peter's vestry. This is actually my second go-around on the vestry since I was there in some of Paige's early years about 15 years ago. I grew up in the Anglican Church in Toronto, Canada, at a beautiful old church in York Mills called St. John's. My dad's father was an Anglican minister, and my mom's grandfather as well. So when I moved to Solana Beach in 2006, came down to visit the closest Episcopal Church in the area, I knew I'd found home. I remember everything was buzzing because the longtime rector had just left and the new one was arriving soon. And apparently she really liked U2. And everyone was talking about it. And she did services based on U2 music. Little did I know at that time that I would be entering a relationship with the church that would shape myself and my family for the next 20 years. My wife, Lisa, and I have 4 children. And I must admit, as great as St. Peter's has been to me, many of my fondest memories are how much the church contributed to my children's experience. I don't want to brag, but all 4 of my kids have turned out pretty awesome, as many of you know. And I think a lot of that had to do with the wonderful spiritual environment they grew up in here at St. Peter's. One of my first memories was going to Brian and Pam Laidlaw's house for a new member welcome brunch. And Tegan wasn't even born yet up there. And our third child, Aisley, was still in a bassinet. And Colin and Greer, who are now 27 and 25, were still little kids running around. And to this day, all 4 of my children speak very fondly of their experience growing up at the church. The pumpkin carvings and the children's choir, the old summer beach Bible camp, Easter service and confirmations, the pilgrimages, and all of the wonderful mentors they had over the years. Anne, who was the first young families minister for them years ago. Cindy Clemens, the kind of Sunday school teacher you could ever ask for. Pat Merritt and his dry wit keeping the youth groups entertaining. And Lee and Scott for their very relatable style with the youth. And of course, Paige for her unrelenting commitment to keeping youth an important part of the church. I can't say enough thanks to the generosity of this community for sharing their time and their treasure to help shape my children into what they are today. Loving Christians that respect God, love those around them, and see the good news that surrounds them. And no, Woody, I haven't forgotten about you. All 4 of my children were acolytes at the church when they were first able, probably around 7 or 8, until when they graduated. And my daughter Tegan, obviously, is still serving here before she graduates this year. And if you aren't familiar with the Acolyte program, it is a great way for kids to engage with the church and share responsibility for keeping services running smoothly. All of my kids would probably consider Woody to be like an uncle to them. When you're an acolyte, it can feel like all of the eyes of the church are on you, and sometimes it is hard to remember everything under that pressure. Woody teaches them timeliness and responsibility, and he doesn't glad hand feedback. He tells them how it is. It helps them grow in confidence and performance ability. I have a funny Woody story that I have to share. So my son Colin used to wear these sandals. They were flip-flops, but they're made out of this frayed canvas fabric. And it kind of made them look like they were ancient Middle Eastern sandals, in a way. And so he wore them acolyting a couple of times with his robes until Woody decided he finally had to say something. He's like, Colin, next time, please wear closed-toed shoes. And Colin looks up, and he's probably 10 years old, and he's like, but these are my Jesus sandals. Woody looks down and he looks at the shoes. He goes, well, I can see your point. But next time, please wear closed-toed shoes. All of my kids love and respect Woody Hayes, and he has been a big part of our St. Peter's experience. With how important I believe the youth programs are to St. Peter's, I ask you to think about how exciting it is that we now have Madeline here with us full-time. And it's exciting, but it also requires a commitment from all of us to support her and to consider when making our pledges. With all that said about my family, I want to now talk about what St. Peter's means to me personally. As a CEO, it is not always easy to be a great Christian each day and every day. I would be lying if I said that that didn't bother me. Sometimes there is an inherent conflict between success in our careers and fully embracing Jesus' message of love and unlimited kindness. I mean, you are pursuing material success and wealth at work, which right out of the gate wouldn't be something Jesus would have high on his list of recommendations. And then there are the times when I've had to let people go from their jobs, creating havoc in their lives and for their families. Not exactly an act of unconditional love for humanity. So on Sunday, when I come to St. Peter's and stare at the sun gleaming through our beautiful windows, and I fall into the spell of our wonderful music and listen to the words, it is a time of great reflection. Even leaving church afterwards, driving past the ocean at Dog Beach and watching the lives lived on the beach volleyball courts and the owners chasing their dogs around on the beach, I feel energized and committed to our Christian cause and to the beauty of our world in general. Committed to God's creation and to humanity. My challenge to myself is to keep that elevated and purposeful feeling going through the week to the next Sunday, where St. Peter's can help me feel renewed and refreshed again. Because when I am making difficult decisions during the week to be successful in my career, the one thing that I can say is that I care. It is when you start making these decisions without caring about their effects on those around you that you are lost. This is an age-old conundrum for Christians while they apply their talents to be successful. So I do not pretend to have the answer. I can only say how I try to live my own experience. Like all things in life, I just try to stay in balance. If someone has to be let go from a job, it isn't just you're fired. It is how can I support them through this difficult time? Provide them with services to help find their next opportunity. Give them coaching on how they can be better in the future. To feel empathy. As my wealth and experience increase, it isn't about just obtaining more material things, but balancing that with how I can give some of that experience or wealth back to our cause. It bothers me to think that if I was in Jesus' orbit a millennia ago, I would have had a hard time giving everything up to follow him. But I've stopped beating myself up over that. Maybe I would have if I was in his presence. All I can do now is walk through this society that we have in front of us today and apply my talents to be successful as Jesus would want, but always keeping his message of love close to my heart and to my brain as I'm making decisions. And I couldn't do that without St. Peter's and the support of this community. That is why I renew my pledge again this year to help keep this little gem of a sanctuary thriving in a mad world, and to keep St. Peter's working hard to instill balance in a society that sometimes seems to have forgotten what Jesus' message really was. The world needs more good news. We are blessed to have the connections we have here with each other in such a beautiful and safe environment where our souls magnify the Lord. Your vestry have all completed their pledges for the year. So this year, tell out your soul when you consider your pledges to preserving and expanding St. Peter's cherished, right, and blessed mission. Thank you.